Testing.
You're getting ready for a marathon there. Coming well stocked. Right. 1 minute, colleagues.
Okay. Good evening, colleagues, and welcome to Turning Vision to Venture, an entrepreneur's roadmap. My name is Elizabeth Moore, and I am COO of Academic Affairs and also head up the postgraduate business school at Regenesis. And with over 25 years of experience in building and optimizing businesses, I've had the privilege of working across industries to develop ideas and transform these into actionable projects that have driven innovation, enhanced performance, and unlocked potential. I've launched and nurtured multiple companies, always with a focus on innovation and strategic growth. Whether it's developing cutting-edge solutions or driving transformation in established organizations, my passion lies in creating environments where ideas can flourish and businesses can thrive. It was this very passion that ignited the spark for this evening's initiative. A few months ago, sitting with my colleague, Dr. Barry, we envisioned a platform where entrepreneurs could share their journeys, learn from one another, and forge valuable connections. And tonight, I'm incredibly honored and privileged to welcome you all to this inaugural event, the first of many to come. Tonight, in celebration of World Entrepreneurship Day, we shine a light on the fascinating, exhilarating, and sometimes daunting world of entrepreneurship. It's a space where innovation meets strategy, and vision is transformed into ideas that breathe life into products and services that create real value in the market. South Africa faces a significant challenge, that of unemployment. And with one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, at 33.5%, as reported in the second quarter of 2024, this crisis has nearly doubled in the past decade. While limited access to education, as well as social and economic disadvantages, are the primary factors driving elevated rates of unemployment, even graduates and young and seasoned professionals who enter the job market are faced with the stark reality of limited job opportunities. However, with this challenge comes opportunity. At Regenesis, we are driven by two powerful levers to unlock human potential: expanding access to quality education and cultivating a culture of entrepreneurship. Education serves as a foundation upon which individuals build their futures. It empowers people with the knowledge and the skills and the critical thinking necessary to navigate the complex, dynamic, and fast-paced world in which we live while seizing opportunities. Through holistic education, we at Regenesis are dedicated to building conscious, self-aware, ethically driven leaders who are taught to think differently. They're encouraged and equipped to challenge the status quo, to innovate, and to contribute to societal progress. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is the engine that drives economic growth and innovation. It transforms ideas into reality. It creates businesses that generate jobs, and stimulates markets, all while addressing a plethora of societal needs. Entrepreneurs are not just business creators. They are problem solvers who drive progress by taking calculated risks. They foster innovation. They contribute to the social fabric by reducing poverty and promoting social inclusion. Together, education and entrepreneurship are the two pillars that enable individuals to not only envision a better future, but actively work to create it. With South Africa's unemployment rate on the rise and a reported decline in new entrepreneurs entering the market, we need to urgently support the next generation of innovators. And tonight, we invite you to take that bold leap and to become a part of the solution. So whether you are thinking about starting a business or you're grappling with the complexity of taking your existing business to the next level, we are here to provide you with that inspiration, the resources, and the connections to ensure that you succeed. We are privileged to be joined by visionaries who have dared to dream big. They've stepped out of their comfort zones. They've defied the norm to build businesses that make a tangible difference in the lives of countless individuals, with the mission of shaping a better tomorrow for generations to come. These are the trailblazers, the change makers, the ones who embrace the road less traveled. And they are here to share their stories with you, the triumphs, the tribulations, the lessons, and the blessings of entrepreneurship. Tonight's conversation is going to be pinned around a three-part entrepreneurial model that we've curated to highlight three important phases of entrepreneurship. The first phase is Seek. This phase is all about identifying opportunities. Entrepreneurs explore and discover potential market needs, they identify gaps, and they develop solutions to problems. This phase involves research. It's about understanding industry trends and aligning opportunities with your passion or expertise. The second phase is Seize. So once an opportunity has been identified, this phase focuses on taking decisive action to capitalize on that. And this involves developing a business plan, securing resources, and executing strategies to bring that idea to life. It's about turning vision into reality through innovation, commitment, and calculated risk-taking. And the third phase is Scale. So after successfully seizing an opportunity, the focus shifts to growth and expansion. And this phase is all about building on your initial success and momentum. It's about optimizing operations and expanding market reach. The scaling phase requires strategic planning. It's about efficiency improvements, and often it's about securing additional resources to sustain and amplify that growth. Our goal this evening is simple. We want to ignite your passion. We want to encourage you to blaze your own trail and to awaken that giant within you to become a beacon of light for others to follow. So colleagues, without further ado, please do join me in welcoming our esteemed panel. Dr. Pepe Marais, founding partner and group chief creative officer of Joe Public United. He is a leading figure in South African advertising and a proud Regenesis alum. Chad Schaefer. That's good. Chad Schaefer, a chartered accountant and head of strategy and growth at Step Advisory with over 2 decades of experience in business, leadership, and growth. And a very, very special entrepreneur on the stage. Zama Madupela. We actually developed this event in collaboration with Bossland. She is founder of Black Dot Holdings and editor of Bossland magazine, a visionary driving sustainable business and corporate social responsibility across Africa. Pomalelo Moshapo, a seasoned sales and marketing strategist, health risk management expert, and published poet with a focus on business growth and social commentary. And moving to our online panelists who have dialed in thanks to technology. Over to Tlo Kate Mefane. She is a diagnostic optometrist and founder of Focus Optometrist, combining clinical expertise with innovative practice management. And also dialing in Dr. Tembeka Buleni, dentist and founder of Smiles Dental Surgery. Look at that smile. And also founder of the Dental Practice Management Academy. And she's an award-winning healthcare entrepreneur. And to lead tonight's conversation, we have Dr. Barry van der Westhuizen, who is one of our senior faculty members and a professional and firm advocate, passionate about entrepreneurship and education. Dr. Barry, over to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's always an absolute privilege to be here. Welcome, everybody. I've got to give you two succinct points that are good I'd like you to remember. Firstly, small business today in South Africa contributes 2.3 trillion rand to our GDP. So, is it not on? Closer, is that better? Okay, my apologies. So 2.3 trillion rand to our GDP. Every single entrepreneur from a spaza shop onwards creates jobs, creates value. You count. Then secondly, please remember that the informal retail market, according to Business Intelligence this morning, is valued at 197 billion rand in our country. Entrepreneurs count, so welcome. Now, I'm not going to speak too much. Let's get on to the Seek stage, and I would like to speak to Pepe first. Pepe, only 1 in 100 companies will make it through their first 3 years. After that, a mere 1% of them are still alive after 10 years. My question to you is, speak to us about your entrepreneurial journey, because you often speak about the grit that we need. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Barry. And good evening, everyone. So, that's a long time, 26 years. We founded our business in 1998. It was interesting. We had a incredible idea. Maybe before the idea came a real passion for what I was doing. I loved advertising. I'm a creative by heart. I love creating. So this idea of starting an ad agency based on a restaurant ignited me so much that I was willing to give up my job at that stage, which was a pretty good job. I was 6 years in the industry. I was earning little enough that the risk wasn't too high, so that made it easier. And we started with this idea from scratch. We had no capital. And that was also quite interesting because we were looking for capital, but the person was willing to fund us wanted 80% of our business. And that's something we often forget. Now you start a business and you only own 20% between two people. And fortunately, we rather went the hard way, which was start with nothing and just slowly build this business. And it was a fascinating first decade of, you talk to grit, like having the interest in what you're doing, bringing that value to the market, and then really having like the willingness to grow. Growth mindset in business is critical. You just don't know what you don't know. So when you start from scratch, that growth trajectory is massive. So having that willingness to practice your craft, and what I also realized very quickly, because I was always, I'm going to use the word obsessed about excellence. You know, like things had to be like top. That's why I love Apple and I love Steve Jobs and I love the fact that they polish the titanium screws inside the Mac because no one sees it but they see it. So it's that same approach. And then the biggest gift that could have happened to us was bankruptcy. So 10 years later we hit a brick wall in the 2008 2009 recession. And yeah, I'll leave it there because we can sort of see where the conversation goes, but I'll leave it there for now because I think that sort of tenacity to lose everything overnight and then realize, well, it didn't kill us. It was traumatic as hell. You know, retrenching so many people and then going back to ground zero after a decade of, I would safely say, 14 to 16 hour days, 7 days a week. I mean, just real tenacity to make it past that statistic. You know, to be that 1 in 100 that makes it past 10 and then to fail at 10 and then to get back up again and the gift that came with that. But yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing I did not mention, at the end of each section, questions. So please note your questions online and in the audience, and we'll do the 3 sections and have question time to the esteemed audience over here. Right, Summer. Boss Lane Magazine, we met a couple of months ago. It's been a phenomenal story. I want you to please tell us what was the inspiration behind your brand and your company?
Well, Bossling Magazine was born from my desire to create a platform whereby we don't only empower entrepreneurs, but we celebrate them. It came from my experience in during my career, and also the stories that entrepreneurs would share and I would hear. There was a huge gap in African entrepreneurs receiving support and exposure. And I just wanted to create that platform and to close that gap. And also, I mean, there's so many Africans that are, that we have the ambition, we have the talent, and we have the ideas. We just don't have the necessary resources and the visibility to change those ideas to, viable enterprises. So that's why I started Boss Lane, that it's a platform for entrepreneurs not to only, be visible and be seen and to share their stories, but also we celebrate them and celebrate their milestones, their ups and their downs.
It's wonderful, so it hooks in beautifully with what you're saying. Phumelelo, I'm going to put you on the spot. In the context of new ventures, how do you approach sales and marketing strategies to seize opportunities? That's a big take.
A very big take. And Elizabeth spoke to unemployment and you spoke to retrenchment. And maybe I need to explain how I found myself becoming an entrepreneur, an unintentional one at that. So exactly a year ago, I was retrenched. And in seeking, I realized that in me seeking employment, I wasn't finding anything that was aligned to my values, and I had to then go back within myself and ask myself, I've built a brand, I've had quite a sterling career in sales and marketing, and I've been award-winning at that. So I had to use the unique skills that I had and say, what is it in the market, what problems can I solve? And I think that's where, even with new ventures, that's where it starts. Understanding why you exist as a new venture, understanding what you stand for, and part of seeking is what unique skills unique problems can I solve with what I have. And then it's not enough just to identify problems, because I'm just going to pick on Dr. Buleni because that's a familiar name. With her being a dentist, running a dental practice, she can look, let's say she looks at me and she sees I've got overlapping teeth. She gets excited. It's a problem. But is
Money in the bank.
Yeah, is it an urgent problem? If it's not an urgent problem, I'm not willing to pay for it. So meaning that her financial projections are going to be off, her positioning in the market is going to be off. And so part of what I do as part of the consultancy, using my skills of positioning, is stepping in and helping Dr. Buleni immerse herself in front of her clients to understand what is the urgent need. I won't pay for something that's urgent. It doesn't bother me if she's saying she's selling a smile. I'm Team Victoria Beckham. I don't smile. I don't need to post on Instagram, so I do not need that. So it's not an urgent need. So in her seeking, I'm not her ideal customer, although I have a problem she's identified. It's an explicit problem, so part of what I do is to step in and say, okay, there might be her immersing herself in my world is understanding there might be a latent problem. Because I take speaking opportunities, I sit in front of clients as a value proposition strategist. She might say, but then it's affecting your speech, and it's part of immersing yourself in the client's world. Mapping the world so that it becomes important to me to see agency. You're not translating the speaking engagements into closing sales, because when you speak, there's a lisp. When you speak, you're not coherent, or when you spit, you're spitting on the poor team, so they won't call you again. So then it creates an opportunity. So in seeking, now you've mapped something that suddenly becomes urgent, because then I suddenly realize that I need to grow my business. She needs to grow her business. There's a collaboration opportunity. If she delivers exceptionally well at fixing my teeth, fixing my speech, it means that now we formed a partnership where we both grow and scale. So you identify a problem that's urgent, not just a problem, because it's not a problem to me, not a problem according to you as an entrepreneur. It's identifying a problem, and then you go in and you create and coin a value proposition where the value proposition is not aligned to your clientele. You will struggle in converting that into sales. So that's where I step in.
That's brilliant. Well said. I must tell you, it ties so much into the Japanese lifestyle of ikigai, doing something you're passionate about, something you're good at, and something the world is willing to pay for. So all well said and done. But Chad, I've got to ask you the difficult one. It's said lately, in a world where competitive advantage often evaporates in less than a year, companies can't afford to spend months at a time crafting a single long-term strategy. What can entrepreneurs do differently to not just survive their first year, but thrive and stand out?
Sure, that's difficult, Barry. Next question. No, yeah, I think competitive advantage is important to figure out how your business is a little bit different. And I'm coming through as a management consultant and as a strategy consultant, working with a lot of organizations, trying to figure out what is their competitive advantage. And for me to practice every day, every week, we've always got to be ahead of what's happening, or aware of what's happening, but not just the competitive advantage, but being able to put that all together in a very coherent way as to how you could actually turn that into value. And a lot of the successful organizations don't actually have a leading competitive advantage. There might be a fast second, a fast fifth, they might even be the fast 10th. But what differentiates them is the way that they are able to put that together. Are they adding value? In my business, being able to create more value than my fee is, for me, table stakes. If I can create 10 times more value than my fee for my client, that focuses me quite quickly in terms of how I can differentiate myself from somebody else in the market. So it's very much around value that is very, very important. And it's not necessarily a long-term strategy. I think you've got to have an adaptive strategy that keeps adapting to understanding how the market is shifting, how their competitive advantage is shifting, how others are catching up to your value that you're adding in the market. I mean, Apple, they are certainly not the leaders when it comes to functionality. I think your Android phones do a lot better, but they are good at how they put their whole ecosystem together. And they're not a fast second, they're probably a fast fifth. But when they do it and they bring it to market, you want to do business with them because of the entire value and the ecosystem that they are able to bring you. So around thinking through competitive advantage, what makes your product, your service different from somebody? It would take a lot of time and effort for people to actually get to understand how I do business to add a 10 times multiple on my fee. And if I can keep that elusive, it will keep me ahead of my competitors. And I don't have to then advertise that, because then my customers will tell other people in the market what it is that I am doing a little bit differently. And then again, from your products and being able to shift some of those things. A really great South African success story is freedom of movement. Freedom of movement got into a market where they didn't have a differentiator, but they were able to actually provide leather bags. They actually looked at quality. They looked at an approachable price, not a cheap price. They then were able to say, but how do we then move and grow? And then they started to look at footwear. And then after footwear, they started to look at other things in terms of apparel. Then they started to look at brand association. And so why do people want to buy from freedom of movement? Because of, I think, the full lifestyle and the brand and the value that it adds. So they don't necessarily do anything that's maybe different from the market, but the way that they put that all together creates a different experience for customers. And I think if entrepreneurs can think about that, don't necessarily have to be cutting edge, but how can I do something that somebody needs and do it better than anybody else? For me, being able to keep shifting and thinking that one through is very valuable for organizations.
Thank you very much. I speak to about Apple. I have a friend of mine who's Apple mad, and I said to him one day, why? And he said, once an Apple man, always an Apple man. It's just got a differentiator to it. So thank you very much. Tembeka, I'm going to ask you a very important question. There's the $1 million smile. Okay. Right. Tembeka, you've got numerous awards and nominations, including Health Excellence and Mpumalanga Award. I want to ask you, as an entrepreneur, how do you utilize these accolades to build and strengthen your brand? Does it matter to have accolades?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Okay, cool. These awards are quite humbling to me as well. I have to say that they just show that me as a business, and they give me integrity as a person as well. And they are a testament of my commitment to excellence, whether in patient care or innovation in dental field, or as a coach and a mentor as well. So I've used these accolades in my business, in my website, social media platforms, marketing materials, to highlight the achievements and expertise, and thereby reinforcing the reputation as a leader in the dental community. And also in the practice, I have the pictures and the medals and the certificates in the reception area. So as people come in and doing their inquiring, they can see all of those things. And I remember there was a time when I used to put my picture on my business card and also on the board outside the practice, because the people will see this, the name Dr. Pullen and all the list of the accolades underneath. And then they would expect this big guy or a big lady, you know, and then I'll come with my tiny structure and they'll be like, are you sure it's the same person? But yeah, that has helped as well. So it has helped in so many ways in making sure that I also strive to continuous excellence and innovation in my practice, also in the approach in the mentoring that I do in the dental practice management academy. And it also gives me a reminder that of the high standards that I aim to uphold and motivate us myself to push beyond boundaries and to provide exceptional solutions in dental field, or to my colleagues or to my patients as well.
Thank you very, very much. And it does speak to what's been spoken about you. We call it gravitas. I'm not going to seek out medical help from somebody who doesn't have the right qualifications, the accolades, or has been around the block. I'm not going to send my car to a chop shop for a service. So, you know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, like Pepe said in the beginning, you've got to serve the time. Not behind bars, but you've really got to serve the time and make the money. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that comes to our first section. I would like to open the floor to questions now. If there are questions off the floor over here, Elizabeth will bring the mic to you. Sorry? No, Kate's coming in the next section. Don't worry. Kate, don't worry. We have not forgotten about you. We've got questions there.
Thank you. I'm Karin Jafta. I just wanted to find out, if you look at the current situation in South Africa with unemployment, how can you contribute as businesses in leveling that playing field, whereby maybe we find solutions on how to employ more people, maybe in irregular employment days of work, in such a way just to help us through this difficult time economically. Would that be something that people can look at within the small business arena? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a tough question.
I mean, that's a very interesting concept. I'll have to admit that. I think the barriers for that would be expertise. Like if I just think of my own field, it's highly specialized on all levels. There's about at least 10 skill sets across the business, and they're all highly specialized. So that becomes a very difficult, almost mandate to entrepreneurial concerns, where the first job is just to stay in business because you're supporting those mouths that you're already feeding. So I think it's a much bigger systemic issue, I think. And of course, we also don't want to always put things in front of governments, like what can we do as entrepreneurs? I think if you can build a business that starts getting into a profitable situation where you've got surplus, because there's profit and there's surplus. Profit is the money you distribute among your stakeholders, which will be your bonuses for your people and for the shareholders. But surplus means you've got extra money that you can maybe start putting into development programs within your business. But that also depends on scale. We could only start doing that once we went beyond 100 people. When you're under that, the name of the game is product excellence, service excellence, survive, stay in business. But it's a very interesting thought. Can you sort of create a system where people, but I think very difficult to not all businesses are, and I don't want to also slate the skill set of a factory, but you can probably get away with it if you've got a more of a factory process. Yeah, interesting thought.
Good evening all. My name is Mohammed Sheikh Ahmad. My question is to Pepe. How did you pivot and come back to life? I think that, a lot of entrepreneurs, the fear of failure is also stopping them. But if you can tell us, how did you move past that and resurrect the business, that would be helpful as well.
Okay, I'll try and keep it short. But this is my big one, okay? This is the big one. So Carl Jung said, in order to have a spiritual breakthrough, you need to have quite a massive breakdown. Bankruptcy is a massive breakdown. It is the greatest gift I was ever given as an entrepreneur. Because what came through the process, which was not something I was conscious of when we started the business. When my partner and myself started the business, of course we were passionate about what we did, and that's what we did. But why we did what we did was to make money. So the unconscious driver of why we start these businesses, we think it's money. And then we go into the business to try and make money. Although we say we love what we do, there's still in the back of our heads, we want to make money. It is the most unnatural way to make money. And no one knows this. Because the end result of that chase was bankruptcy. What came out of that insight of bankruptcy is the question, why do we do what we do? And once we figured that out for our business, so we were growing over that 10 years period about 5% year on year, 8% if we were lucky. Once we figured out why we do what we do, and money became a byproduct of that value, we grew at 40% compounded for the next decade. So phenomenal. I actually did my doctorate to try and figure out what's going on there. I think it's something we are not aware of as entrepreneurs. We don't do enough work when we start our businesses to really figure out why am I really doing this in service of something far greater than something as little as money. And I say that as a capitalist and understanding the importance of money. Because money is the lifeblood of business. Without money, a business will, without that blood, like a human, your blood flows, boom, stops flowing, you die. Money is the lifeblood of business, but you don't wake up every morning thinking you must make blood. And that was the insight that bankruptcy gave us. And that is the foundation of the success of our business, which is a medium enterprise now, which is only at the beginning of building real scale. And everything that drives that ambition and that excitement and the energy you need to drive that comes from understanding why the business exists. We can speak afterwards in depth. I'll keep you busy for 2 hours.
Thank you very much. We do have another person with a question.
Yes.
Up to you, sir.
Yes, my name is Brighton. I am a metallurgical consultant, and I run my own business in Johannesburg. My question is directed to Pomelelo Mampa. Okay, the name is a bit difficult to pronounce, but you said something very interesting about identifying a immediate need from a potential client and offering a solution. Very, 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 very interesting and very correct. I find myself operating in an environment where you come across a client with an immediate need, but they don't know that they have the need. And how do you formulate a solution for such a person? How do you get them to understand, particularly in situations where you can notice that they lack, I operate in a technical environment, they lack the technical understanding, and you might find this person is working for a very big company, they've got a lot of money, you can unlock a lot of value for them. But the person who is working in the technical department, who is supposed to spend the money, who is supposed to bring the business to your doorstep, doesn't understand what he's doing. And as a result, even if you try to bring him to understand that he's got a need, he doesn't see it. How best as an entrepreneur can I unlock value in such a situation?
It's a very interesting question and quite a pertinent one, especially because you find that a lot in business to business, which is where I spent the past decade. What we have to realize, especially in that environment, I also just came from a technical background, is the person who's feeling the pain the most, in your case being the technical person, will require their own value proposition that you position, because they are the ones who are feeling the severe pain. And you empower them to go and become the champion to the buyer, because in your case, the person who holds the purse strings doesn't understand. But even with the champion, the user, in most cases we assume And it's the problem also with our politics. We assume people know what to do. So a whole lot of what you have to do in our space as consultants is education. There's a gap between what the customer knows, be it the user who's feeling the pain or the buyer who has the purse strings. And in those business environments, there's like a number of people who would have to sign, who would have to authorize that sale, not the user who's feeling the pain. So your education is getting positioning for each of the players in the value chain, but educating, because as I said, we assume. So there's a gap between what they know and what we are communicating. And until you close that gap, because they are worried about being fired, because they are worried about making the wrong decisions, and which is why there's such long cycle in business-to-business environments, you have to do the education to empower each of these players to lobby. So you are not only speaking to the user, but you're teaching them how to handle objections, and like I showed you with Dr. Buleni's business, how to make it urgent for each of those players. So there's a lot of education to close that gap. And until you get to that point, and you do it exceptionally well, it will just be this continuous cycle of waiting and not closing. So education becomes very pivotal. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can we move on? Wonderful. Right. The next piece is so important. Up until now, every one of these entrepreneurs keep telling you how hard you work. And I can identify this. You know, the 14-hour day, 7 days a week happens. The bank account doesn't. What certainly happens in this is we get target fixation and we lose visionary. We can't envisage what's over the hill next. So the C's part of this is exceptionally important. So of course I'm going to pick on Chad first, and then I'm going to go across to our esteemed lady Clue over there. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Right. So Chad, with your extensive experience advising CEOs, how do you help businesses identify and seize opportunities that lead to successful innovation and transformation? And I know you can write a book on that.
And I'll try and keep it brief. I think what is very important, as Pepe also said, is that it takes you 10 years to probably build a business, and you've got to put the time in, and it takes a lot of grit. And it is then, I think, not trying to grow too quickly, because you're probably going to run out of cash, which is the lifeblood of what you're looking for. But it is also saying, well, how do I scale? And it's important to frame what scaling is, because it's doing what you're doing well with your current customers, and then finding new customers that you're going to do the same thing with. The other way of scaling is being able to find new locations or new geographies, or being able to sell through new channels. And that's very important, is to say, well, am I a storefront? Am I online? How am I actually selling? And can I scale my business through different channels with different customers, and then also looking at maybe doing it through different locations? The most difficult thing is then, how do I innovate off the back of the product or the service that I'm currently providing? How do I deliver that differently to my existing customers through the current channels to the current locations first? And then looking at, how do I actually maybe take some of this innovation that might appeal to potentially new customers? And the way to innovate is to keep thinking about the jobs that need to be done by your customers, your existing customers, and keeping your product or your service relevant to them on an ongoing basis. And it takes a lot of investment to keep innovating, the research and the development, and then being able to prototype it, test it in the market quickly, figure out what you need to change, and then being able to take that to be able to grow your business. But it is important to make sure that as you're scaling your business, you're growing your business through your same product, through a customers, different channels that you want to look at, new geographies or new locations, new storefronts. And then the next thing is to say, how do I keep making sure that I'm able to keep updating my product and service? What I found in a lot of businesses that I've had to build myself and also advise clients, you don't want to be too far on the lunatic fringe. You don't want to be too far ahead. You want to be quite close to your core. And that is where the success needs to come. You don't want to do things that are untested with untested clients and going to take a lot of money. You want to be able to experiment off the back of what you've got. Unless you really now are, highly advanced, growing really, massively, and now you're wanting to actually dabble into building a portfolio of, let's say, next businesses. But if you want to grow your own business and to keep your own business innovated, it is around just having a look at how do I build off the business that I'm actually currently working in at the moment. And that's your biggest opportunity for success.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And of course, it speaks to research and development and often the wastage in larger companies that goes nowhere. And the infamous skunkworks is a lovely example. Right, Kate, you're up. And I'm so glad you've waited. And she sighs with relief. Kate, how is your approach of integrating clinical practice with academic research and collaboration with innovative companies enhanced your ability to challenge the challenges in eye care? It's a mouthful, but I know you're going to answer as well.
Yes, my name is Kate. I'm an optometrist who is currently doing the PhD, and I'm happy to say that my PhD was on, or let me say for now, my master's was on epidemiology. Most of the time when a patient comes to the practice, we normally see them as a patient, but there is people behind. It can be family members, it can be friends and everyone. But I think basically I've learned to go back to the primary way of making money. When you open a business, you have to make money. I think that is the bottom line. And I always stick to the triple P, meaning place, pricing, and the people. So I think as an optometrist, it has helped me a lot in a sense that now with the current practices that I have and the research that I've done, now I understand my clientele base. I keep on being relevant in so many levels in a sense that in terms of innovation, we all know that technology is here and it will always be here. And I think that's what I do locums every now and then to make sure that I'm very relevant at all the time. And yeah, that is why when Chet was talking about place and everything, and what I've also noticed when you are building a business, one of the things that I've noticed now is that especially after COVID, yeah, a lot has happened. A lot of people, we don't talk about the impact of what COVID has done to us. And I think my growth is not only vertical, now it's also horizontal in a sense that is why I had to pursue how I understand my clientele base. But my triple P actually has paid the price, because even the practices that I have currently, the base one that I have, I do own the property. So meaning that it's very important that you don't just grow vertically, but you have to make sure that whatever that you are doing, actually, it has to be stable.
Very sound advice. Thank you so very much. Right, Zama, you've aligned yourself with a future-focused Pan-African vision and mission. Could you talk to us about the importance of balancing the identification of opportunities with sustainability and CSR? And before you go on there, I've got to tell you, I keep hearing CSR, sustainability, ESG. It's top of mind. So your input, please.
Well, Dr. Berry, CSR is not just a buzzword for me. It's an integral part of how I approach business. And I think it can save so many businesses in finding out your why. And that's where CSR is, getting that why and getting all your policies, all your operations to be in line with that why, so that you never lose track on actually why your business exists. So the balance between identifying opportunity, sustainability, and CSR is very crucial, particularly in the African context, where you know, our challenges are very complex and they're intertwined with socio-economic realities. I mean, currently we're facing a massive unemployment rate. The market, obviously markets are down no matter what you sell. You know, you are gonna, you know, we're all experiencing a tight fringe. So it's very important to sort of you know, balance, you know, that balancing act. My Pan-African belief is rooted in the firm belief that I believe that in order for us as Africa to move forward and to see progress is when businesses operate in a way that actually benefits the communities in which they operate in. And further also, you know, businesses that respect the environment and, you know, so that, you know, our children and our children's children, you know, our natural resources. So, you know, my company, you know, CSR company and also Boss Lane magazine, we're trying to promote and persuade businesses to take this balanced approach and to look at businesses from inception, from, you know, startup phase. Make sure that you got your why, you know, why are you opening, why are you running a business? You know, besides the money, what do you want to contribute, and get your CSR, you know, in place right from inception so that you never lose track and chasing targets and chasing that money. So even if you do go bankrupt, because I mean, failure is inevitable, downfall is inevitable in business, you never lose your why. And you know, wherever your business is located, wherever you operate from, the community in which you operate from, you know, you're not just taking, you're not just exploiting them, but you know, they feel empowered. And it's also a way to secure clients, because if the community you operate in is empowered, you're securing, you know, your cash flow. They can support you. So it's yeah, that's the approach. That's the new way of approaching. And I'm glad that the capitalists also see it. It's not just about profit. It's about, you know, making an impact. And profits and impact can actually go together. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. And it is respect and compassion for our fellow man. You know, it's not just product for product's sake, for a down payment on my Bugatti. It's very real, please God, I have one. But it is very, very real. Any givers, takers? Right, Pumelelo, I've got to go to you. Given your diverse career as a sales and marketing strategist, speaker, poet, and author, do you believe that there is such a thing as a balance for an entrepreneur?
Balance is an illusion. I think being an entrepreneur, you get driven by passion, you get driven by a growth mindset. So you have to be ready to seize opportunities at whatever time, especially when you're building. So I believe more about harmonizing, finding synergies. And I've said, and I'm glad I'm hearing this buzzword about the why. When you understand your why, what I'm uniquely good at, what helps me with all these multiple hats that I wear is that there's a common thread which comes back to, I think, Chad, you spoke to the core. Pepe and Zama spoke to the why. Testing against the why, for me, it's been the positioning. I give this compelling narratives in each of the roles and each of the heads that I wear. So I find that integrating each of them, when I come to a speaking engagement, I have a handbag. When I am consulting in terms of the value proposition, I try to integrate each of the different roles that I hold, so that you don't burn out. It's entrepreneurship. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You pace yourself, testing it against the why. And also the core of what makes your heart dance. So I would say the concept of balancing should be more about harmonizing.
Excellent. Well said. Thank you so much. And I do agree, it is a bit of an illusion. Right. Pepe, it's to you, sir. Challenges are inevitable, and how you respond to them defines us. In 20 Habits That Break Habits, you explore how replacing limiting habits with empowering ones can lead to a breakthrough. How did your personal experiences shape these habits?
So much to say. I'm already
Please
like
go
responding
ahead,
to,
we're
to
waiting.
your. Just want to make it clear, I'm a conscious capitalist. And that's a very interesting insight. You know, capitalism, it works like the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza. We actually go and 150,000 people work for the benefit of one. And conscious capitalism, the leader sits at the bottom and asks herself or himself, how do I make more people get more out of what we're doing here? Thought I'd make that point. And that's a beautiful movement that's starting to happen the world over, and the world needs it. Habits. I love habits. I think habits are core to success. And what happened with me at that breakdown moment in my life, as I'm sitting here, I'm the same weight as I was in matric. At my breakdown moment, I was weighing almost 20 kilograms more. So I was working, and I agree with you, there's no balance, and there shouldn't be. Entrepreneurship is like all-encompassing. I mean, you just work 7 days a week. I wake up any day of the week, and I'm thinking of the business. I'm a bricks and mortar child, because you're like raising a child, you know. But it was phenomenal, because I realized that I was working exceptionally hard, and I was also drinking hard, probably to medicate the stress, you know. And it's a lonely journey, because you don't have many role models. And then realizing that this system that I've got, this body, is the greatest gift, and for sustainability's sake, and also what I ate, you know, because now suddenly I'm living a fast-paced life, don't have time to eat properly, so I'll have fast food, and I'll drink, and I'll work. And so it was unbelievable to see what habits I've built through this obsession with the business. And they were not, I didn't call them bad habits, because I don't believe in bad and good, because bad is normally at the root of good. It takes a fire to create new growth. You know, it takes bankruptcy to create a new learning and a new business. But that insight on habits was brilliant. So I called them limiting habits. So I had to sit down and ask myself, am I optimizing my system to bring my best to the business and the people and the client that I serve? And actually create the economy. Because we're all serving something greater than just the little business. I mean, you touch thousands of lives through a business. You know, your money spreads through the economy. And what I learned was, I started looking for, I was also smoking. I mean, it said smoking kills on the pack of cigarette, and I was still smoking. I mean, it's crazy. That's why knowledge is not power. Because there's the knowledge. So implementing the knowledge is super powerful. So the insight on habit was massively about, if I want to stop something, a limiting habit, find a really liberating habit. So I started exchanging cigarettes with eating carrots, literally. So every time that I wanted to, I tried something healthy. And through that, I started becoming healthier. And I started changing my fast food with more considered food, and drink more water instead of wine. We all know in the Bible it says turning wine into water. I turned water into wine. I turned wine into water. And then through this experience of building these new, strong, liberating habits, treating this body like gold, I recovered my health and my energy, and it became super abundant. So this idea of being very routine, because that's what makes the world, the planet, nature, is a beautiful example of how we should operate. Sun doesn't come up at 10 o'clock tomorrow because one sleep late. You know, it's like, it's very routine-like. And I shared the other day, nature doesn't do anything for itself. Apple trees don't make apples to eat itself. So even as businesses, we tend to be very selfish. And the more we actually become giving and in service of something greater. So yeah, the habit thing was a beautiful insight, and I've been living very focused on habits for for 17 years now, and it's changed. It's game changing. Yeah, I can speak long about that.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this section. And it's all about getting the time to balance yourself and be a visionary and, get away from the grindstone and think. So, question time. And we're open. Elizabeth, can you get a mic up there, please? Oh, thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Frandani. I'm a Triple B professional. Triple B is a strategy that any business can use. It depends on how you see it. Others see it as a growth strategy. So my question is open to anyone. How has BE impacted you in your business? Thank you.
Who's going to answer that one?
So in our business, we actually don't have a very high BE score. What we do is we actually practice a lot more in terms of donating 30% of our profit through to education and orphans. And we are quite firm in terms of building a strategy behind that to say we're actually making a significant difference in lives of individuals that are growing them to be able to have the knowledge, have the opportunities in terms of being able to build a business in the long term and to take care of themselves. And we find that orphans are exceptionally receptive towards that. They've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So our business is very much around the fact that we exist to be able to grow significant businesses so that we can invest in a cause that's higher than us. And unfortunately, Triple BE for us does not actually coexist with that. So, but we are basically committed to making a significant difference in our business. What we are trying to do in terms of, and again, it's a code, it's not a law, but we subscribe to, I think, all the principles in terms of sound business practices. But what we're doing is we're enabling individuals to be able to grow businesses as entrepreneurs off the back of a sound value proposition, a good market in terms of being able to do that, and to grow 100% black-owned businesses off the back of that consulting service. So a little bit controversial, and I do think that is being challenged in the constitutional courts, so it'll be very interesting to see how that code of conduct continues to play out in the marketplace in years to come.
Can I quickly just so that I've got a bit of a counterbalance to the controversy of that, but I mean, I think it's very well answered. I think transformation is imperative as a very privileged white male. I mean, and this is something I'm very proud of with our business that we were conscious of before we were on the scorecard. I think the scorecard and the system is not really yielding the right result because we're still sitting with 80% of our population living off 7% of the income. So I think what's happened with the current system is it's really served the minority well. It has not managed to do the greater job, and I think we should look at that. We should seriously look at that, because we can't have a situation where it's serving a minority. That said, there is no doubt in my mind, we are level 1 enterprise. There's no doubt in my mind the more diverse you are at the ownership level, the more your members of your staff complement engage with your business. If you're a young black female and you see a female at a board level, you are more engaged with that business than you're going to be in a white male's business. That's a fact. I've seen a huge response to the economically, but now again, I must say what drove our passion with transformation was actually our purpose. And then also diversity is the cornerstone of innovation and creativity. So you cannot operate in absence of that if you are interested in innovation and creation. But as I said, I think the system is not as good as it could be. It's definitely touching the right areas. I do think we need diversity at all levels, from equity down. But I think there's too much emphasis just on how much money we can make rather than how many people can we actually put into jobs.
Wow. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Good. All right. Before I go on, I actually don't have a question, but I've just got to thank everyone, number one. I see there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and people that are selling something and doing something. And I'm actually happy, number one. Heart is pumping so much. But I'm happy to be here. Because if I've got like 5 minutes to spare, if it's okay with everyone, I just want to tell you just a bit of a background of what happened today. And to add on what Pepe had said and what everyone here in the front is talking about tonight. My name is Tebogo, so I currently work for a company called The Meter Man. We are actually suppliers of prepaid electricity meters nationwide and beyond the country. And we also do solar solutions, where we supply from small businesses to large businesses. Been in the company now for 3.5 years as a salesperson, and I've grown from sales to sales manager. And prior, I worked for another company, which I'm not going to mention the name now, which is important, but just to go back on the background. Sometimes it's not about which industry you're in, whether it's black, white, BEE, and whether there's money or whatever. Just to touch down on what people were saying, sometimes we need to believe as entrepreneurs that we all in this room, in this country, in this world, we all have a purpose. We all have gift, what they call gift. And sometimes as human beings, we tend to leave the gift and run away from the gift, or the calling rather, to focus on other things. But it's not a bad thing to do, because that actually enhances everything. It builds up character and. Let me tell you a little story on how I came here today. I don't know about what's happening today, but through taking, number one, most importantly, a chance. Sometimes in life you are given one opportunity, 1 second or a minute to see things and get to another level, which you yourself didn't even plan for or even know you're going to actually engage in. So today I was in my office, my free time. I think I had 5 or 10 minutes to spare. Decided, let me just go next door into a printing shop that's within our complex. And lucky for me, I was blessed. I got to meet Zama, the lady there in the front there. Hi, Ken. So as I went there, I was there to print out whatever that I needed to do. So I'm running a campaign. So it's funny enough how this whole story will come together. So I'm a sales manager, like I said, for Meter Man. I meet up with Zama today. First time, we didn't say much. I think we spoke for like 2 minutes. She told me about what's happening tonight. I was like, you know what, I'm going to come through. My story is that sometimes, guys, we need to take that initiative. The initiative is the best thing that you could ever do. I didn't know what to expect. Bear in mind, it's not even payday. I'm running on like a bar on my car. So you can imagine, from Randburg coming here, thinking traffic, I live the other side of Joburg with the West Rand. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get stuck today. But only God knows, you're just going to take me through this journey. And then there I am, I'm meeting beautiful people today. And I see the panel is actually talking about the same thing. Positiveness and not being afraid. So bear in mind, I told you that I'm in sales, right? But through this whole journey of life and experience and the drive of innovation and entrepreneurship, I was called upon by my community in Vleerhof. So I live in Vleerhof. We are currently trying to raise funds, believe it or not. We're trying to build a wall. Can you believe it? We are trying to build a wall. So I was called upon like last month, and you know what, from my leaders in the area said, you know what, dude, we all know you've been here for a couple of years, and we feel you are the missing link. Whereas I had the first car wash opened, I had to leave empty and back then to open my car wash. Ran it for a year, didn't work out, but I think it was my stepping stone to get me to where I am today. Fast forwarding today, I'm here, and I am part of the committee, and we are building that wall, believe it or not. We are raising funds. I was able to, with the team, of course, to get the big 4 banks, commercial banks, to sponsor as well, and other companies. And going back to what I said, just taking that first plunge. The team didn't believe in it. I mean, right now, the wall, if I can tell you the price, you'll be surprised. But we are halfway, so we gathered the funds, got everyone involved in the community. So like they say community, building a community starts, or rather building a business starts from home. So I took upon it myself to go door to door. Didn't care about my position and what I wanted to achieve. I put money aside, which I know I could always do more, but it's a calling. I had to put everything in my time and leave it behind to do the door-to-door invites, to just ask the community to just raise funds, which we were able to. We were able to see 270 houses. We requested that each house takes a little of 600 rand for this, which we have done that, and it's a good thing. Like what people say, sometimes it's just making sure you do the bare minimum and let God do the rest. And as I'm standing here, I'm urging and inviting you as entrepreneurs, if possible, to come through to the event. We're going to have it on the 28th. I think before I'm done with the event, I will send the flyers. I've got them in the car. Please come through. Please come support the initiative, because we are looking at doing this thing on an annual level, where we're helping our community. We're going to put up cameras. We're going to do other bigger things. But obviously, we can't do it alone. Hence, I think with the business people that are here, if you guys are willing to help, you can kindly please come through, because we also will have stores on the day where you guys will be able to even rent out the store at a minimal charge, that is, so that we can promote your businesses. Right. And we would definitely like to have you guys on board, please.
Right, thank you very much. So, so much for Seize the Day, seize the opportunity. Well done, sir. Well done. Elizabeth, would you like to talk to the online questions?
Thank to go to with that, because we're specifically looking at the concept of capital. There's a question online from Don. What actionable steps would you advise to entrepreneurs who are starting up with a lack of capital? And this is directed at perhaps anybody, Pepe or Chad, ladies online. But very interesting question. How do you secure capital as an entrepreneur, as a startup venture? What are the options that are available to you in the South African context?
Maybe Pepe can jump in as well. I think building on what Pepe was saying is that when you're starting a business, you can do it a couple of ways. One is that you can trade your way and create the working capital that can enable you to start growing. It's a slow way, but it's a very good way of making sure that you continue to have ownership. The next one is actually talking to your family and friends and trying to get them to give you the money and loan them to you at ridiculous interest rates of 0, and being able to run and take the full risk. The other one is that I think going to the bank, if you've got a proven track record or trading, you could certainly have a look at that. And depending on the type of business that you got, is that if you're a trader and you're buying high and selling low and trading goods, you can get trade finance that will finance the trade and not necessarily worry about the balance sheet of your business. And so that's a really good way of being able to, I think, get that working capital, invoice discounting, and being able to use the stock that you've got as collateral for some of the stuff that you're looking at. And then there's other ways of being able to do it in terms of getting a bank loan specifically for your business. And of course, would need a lot more, I think, strengthen your balance sheet and trading history to do that traditionally. And then the other way is to actually then give up equity. And I would say that that's probably the last way that you would want to, I think, be giving up on your dream. But sometimes it's important to figure out how can you structure that so that you can at least have control over your business and to be able to see that going through. But I think if you're looking at equity and bringing on shareholders, you've got to think about that one very, very carefully. Sometimes you can bring in startup equity partners that are willing to be with you for 5 years or so and then exit. So there's different ways of being able to do that depending on your risk appetite, your need to retain ownership, and then being able to have access to funding sources that you either know or don't know about. And so there's various ways in terms of looking at the type of business that you're in and being able to access capital from places that you probably would not have been, able to think about. Pepe.
So I just want to add like for me, and to be clear, I think businesses are as different as people. So what I'm giving you as advice is based on my experience, and that's not necessarily the right advice for every single person online. But I always felt, and this is why I think it's so much more important to be in business for something more than just money, because otherwise the end goal become, I want to create something and sell it. And it feels like I'm selling off my child, So to me, it makes a lot more sense for me to create something that could potentially last 300 years. I mean, to me, that will add such economic value long term. And I think we tend to go into these things wanting to make money. It takes 17 years to become an overnight success. That's the first thing to get used to. Like this thing that happens in Silicon Valley, in these outliers that makes hundreds of millions of US dollars, within 3 years, those are like completely not the norm. The normal trajectory is 15 to 20 years before you start tasting and reaping the rewards of your hard work. And then people look at you and say, I want to be like that, but they don't realize what it took. So that's the first thing to make peace with. And the second thing, which I think is unbelievably fundamental, or I think this is the truth, a business being is like a human being. It goes through puberty at 13. It's hardly walking at 3. It's barely, it's kind of like can't think for itself at 9 and 10. At 25, it's still in sort of like, hey, I'm party vibe. We're 27 now. It's like a bit shaky. So I think these real fundamental businesses start fledging their muscles at like 40, 45. And I think the more one can actually buy into that as a philosophy, the easier it becomes. But the thing is, we don't want to wait for the rewards. I promise you, blink and you're there. And if you don't do it properly, you don't build sustainable businesses. So businesses, the average Western business used to live 70 years on average. It's now 15 years because everyone's chasing the wrong thing. They're not chasing sustainable, proper, deep, transformative, epic, awesome businesses. And I think short-termism is put this whole world of us in like a very destructive state.
I would like to suggest something with the starting up a business without the capital. I suppose you can't get the money from your family and friends because they also don't have the money. You don't have any collateral. You don't have any assets to sell. You can apply for a business loan, and I realize that most of the time, because that's the challenge that I face as well, that when I applied for a loan for the practice when I was starting, the bank could not fund me because I did not have any collateral to secure the loan. So I ended up applying for a personal loan, and then they gave me the personal loan. But it also, another thing about the personal loan, it motivated me to work harder to pay it back quicker because the interest rate is quite higher. Maybe we can look at that as well. And I realized that it's NYDA. They also do some funding as well. So you can go to other non-traditional banks, some funding companies that can give you funding for your business. But just make sure that your business plan is in place and make it clear and as specific as possible.
Thank you very much.
To add, I think we are privileged as a country because there are, depending at what stage your business is at or the startup, there are state-owned enterprises that do provide grants, so you are not only beholden to the banks, so you can investigate that other than the NYDA. I just wanted to say there are grants that are available depending at what stage you are at. Thank you.
Elizabeth, do you have any other questions?
I do. So this question is specifically directed at our healthcare professionals online, so Dr. Tembeka and Chloe. And sticking with the theme of success and, I suppose, business sustainability. The question is, what resources would you say helped you become successful in your company? So the assumption is that we're speaking from healthcare practitioner to healthcare practitioners. And the question is also asking, where do you invest your time now? Are you focused on improving your clinical knowledge and skills, or are you dedicating more time to improving your business knowledge?
Okay. Can you repeat the first one so that I can start with it and then come back to this one?
Absolutely. So the question is, what resources would you say helped you become successful in your practices?
Okay. I realized that with us, we are not taught business management at universities, healthcare professionals. We're just taught to be clinicians. So it's easier for us to work in the hospitals because they already have a system in the hospital. But working in private practice, I realized that I needed to make my own systems, create my own policies for the practice, be strategic with it, and that is something that I mastered, and this is something that I'm able to teach to other colleagues as well in healthcare professional, not only in dental. In policy creation for your business. So creating the strategic growth plan for the business. As much as you wrote the business plan with your source analysis, the pastel, and then you got your funding, but when you come to the business, you need to go back to your vision, the way you structured your business then, and stick to it. Do not freelance a lot based on the supply and demand, as much as there is a high supply. But if you know that this is what I want to do, this is what procedures I want to focus on, and then let me just focus on my skill and improving in those areas, and then you focus on that. In that way, you become an expert in that area, and then people seek you out because you are an expert in that area, rather than generalizing and just doing everything and anything that comes to you.
Excellent.
I've also invested.
Sorry. No, please go ahead.
Hello?
Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Yes, and I've also invested a lot in technology. And in dentistry, we use a lot of technology, and it make the work easier. The system that goes with it, it makes the work easier. It makes it also painless for the patients. It makes it even more relaxing as well for the patients. And the continuous training, I continuously learn. Even now, I'm doing my master's with Ulster University in the UK in aesthetic dentistry. I'm continuously learning and excelling in my skill. But in that, I do not just go for myself only. I pull my staff as well. I teach them whatever that I've learned. I train them as well. As much as I train my other colleagues in the Dental Practice Academy, I teach my staff as well. I also send them out for the CPD events in the specific areas that I want them to improve. Not for them to just accumulate the CPD point, but I recognize what they need based on their strengths and their weaknesses, and I only optimize on their strengths. Their weaknesses, I don't even try to improve on them. I just make sure that I recognize their strengths and make sure I improve on them so that they can excel in them, and then improve their confidence and as well in them, in their strengths, and then they feel valued and recognized for their strengths in the practice. That's how I was able to work it out.
Outstanding. Sorry, I've got to cut you short there because we're running on time, and I do need Kate to add in her bit as well. Please.
All right.
Yeah. From my side, actually, okay, I wrote a lot of things now. How much time do we have? Can you just repeat that question again? I just want to make sure because I need to. Will you kindly repeat that first question again?
Certainly.
Sure. Yes, so the question is, what resources would you say have helped you become successful in your practices?
Okay, for me, I think first of all, it was time management. And I think a lot of people, they're looking for money. They go into business looking for money. and they don't understand that the very time that you have, you can convert it. And I think, I was listening to everybody when you're talking about how you can fund your business and stuff. I started my business, actually, I did not have any funding, none whatsoever. It was the passion. Maybe that's why my company's focus optometries, because it was the focus. It was, your stability and your way of doing things. And you cannot always be motivated. And a lot of people, they think that on daily basis you must look at or you must read certain book or something. If you have your principle in place, it will help you to balance a lot of things. And I think actually we go into business to make money, to make profit. And I think actually even association to learn, like in terms of time, when it comes to association being relevant, like in terms of seasons, what type of a season am I in? If this is the time for you to, for example, in optometry, there was a time where there is programs that are new that were in place, and those programs, if let's say they are coming in, I have to know of how I can profit out of them, because like I'm not just opening, like it's not sustainable for you to open doors without financially or economically making it. And I think actually, yeah, this is what I can say for now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, to our two medical practitioners over here, I've got questions based for you on scaling, which is our last piece, which you've already answered for me. You know, it's unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, now it's about making that profound leap of faith. You know, we've now said what we're going to do to start up, get the money, try and balance ourselves as best we can, and profound words on how long it takes to actually make some money. We now come to scaling. So I'm going to fast forward ahead, and I'm going to go to Chad. As a seasoned senior consultant, can you share key indicators that signal a ripe opportunity for growth and innovation? And let me just say that having been in business, I've sat day and night over many, many years thinking, when do I take the next step? And nobody gives me the answer, and there's no big red button in the sky. So it is a challenging question.
Thanks for acknowledging that. Yeah, I think what you're starting to do when you're looking at scale, there are the indicators in terms of looking at the demand for your product, and if you're starting to see increases. And it is around, well, how can we continue to provide that product into the market? Do we have enough scale in terms of our operations to be able to do that? You'll also start to see some creaking coming in terms of, your systems are taking a lot of strain. Maybe you're not dealing with that volume. Maybe you're not getting the information that you need because it's frenetic and everybody's just getting stuff done, and you're kind of hassling to keep the business rolling. So there are a couple of those key indicators. But it is also, I think it's important, as you are hunkering down in terms of building that business for the 15 and the 20 years, you will know when it's the right time to lift. But I'm also reminded about the fact is that you don't want to lift too soon and too quickly. It's just trying to find that right sort of balance to say, right, now we are ready to do that, because we've got our market, we've got our product, we've optimized where we're needing to be, and you're probably never ever going to be ready to scale. It's around, I think, taking a leap, also figuring out where you're wanting to take some bets in terms of growing parts of your business, whether it is with new customers or it's around trying to open up an online store if you don't have one of those, and trying to see how you could actually start to build. And that's when you're starting to get to that level of scale, is where you are able to invest a lot more in your production capacity to be able to look at your to service your demand. If you're selling hours, very difficult in terms of maximizing your hours. You need to have a lot more people to help you to do that. Or how do you turn a service into a product? And how can you productize some of the services in terms of being able to package things a little bit differently? So there's not one clear answer, but it is just being able to, I think, feel what's happening within your business, and you start to see where you're going to need some, I think, formal structure, where you're starting to see that you're going to need a lot more production capability to be able to meet demand, and it's around being able to grow that demand and to grow that volume. So there isn't one answer around that. It's around just trying to figure out what you're needing to do, and then set yourself ambitious goals and targets, and to say, how can I achieve that, and what would I need to do to be able to do that? And so the other measure is to say, am I playing to my full potential? And if we did everything we could be doing with our team, with our people, with the machinery, with whatever it is that we've got, are we playing to our potential? And if the answer is no, means you're actually needing to push a little bit further.
Well said. Thank you very much. And from my perspective, that bridge too far, I've often got to that point, and thank goodness I had trusted people around me who would tap me on the shoulder and say, hold on a moment, slow down. Because you're not going to be a good entrepreneur if you're not ambitious, if you're not driven with passion. So I would say we do need people around us that we can trust, who are going to tell you it's a bridge too far. Pepe, right, up to you, sir. You've all said my apologies, we all know that without risk there's no reward, and you've spoken about rising from the ashes. So you've described the pain of growth as a privilege and stressed the role of trailblazers in achieving success. You emphasize the importance of the holistic well-being of your people over profits. Speak to us about this and the lessons you've learned as you expand globally. And we all want to see you on Fortune 500. You know that.
I'd like to see some of our other leaders in Fortune 500, if I have to be honest. Like, what's really driving me now, we've got one of our... You guys will be amazed. I mean, I know our country's history, and it's not a great history, but it's given quite a byproduct. In terms of, we're behind in terms of transformation, no doubt. We are ahead globally. It's actually quite phenomenal. We've got such a gift to give the world. So when I think of the Fortune 500 who's on the front page, I know it's one of our female leaders. So for me, I'm always going to come back to the same thing because it's such a deep passion of mine. To me, this virtuous cycle, which I think was touched on just now as well, this importance of people, it's so critical, I think, to all businesses. I haven't tested it on all types of businesses, but I think if you've got a real obsession with making your people excellent, that will make your product or your service excellent. And once your product and your service is excellent, you're going to have happy clients. And once you have happy clients, they reinvest with you, and that adds value to your sustainable profitability. And once you're sustainably profitable, you can start doing more for your community. You can start doing more for society. You can start doing more for your country. And you can start doing more for the people and redeploy money into the system to grow those people more. That virtuous cycle to me. And it was interesting, you talk about scalability. We started in the E-League because our service offering based on our experience was entry level. And we started at that pool of clients at the end, and then we went to the D-League. And then we went to the C-League, and then the B-League. And only then, after 11 years, did we break through into the big corporate A-League, the blue chips. And then but that little virtuous cycle was always at the heart of any level of client that we served. And then I think the scalability started happening because we came from a place of not wanting to make more money. We came from a place of wanting to add more value. Because now we've got this obsession with excellence, but now we're only doing it in this space, but maybe you can do it in that related space as well. So we opened a business in that space. And then we realized, oh, the client's now loving it because they're getting the same value. And we started locking clients into the full value set. And in terms of scalability, what we then learned was find the absolute best people that cost you the most money to run those businesses. Don't try and save money. Buy the talent and get the best talent, because they will give the best service to your clients. And I started realizing the bottom line is the bottom line. It's not the top line. We tend to start businesses, we make R1 million, now we want to make 1.1. 10% growth. We don't ask ourselves, how do we expand our value by 10%? Because then you'll naturally make another 10%. So this thing of people first, it does not negate the importance of money. It just puts it back in its place at the bottom, you know, and then you circle it back into this beautiful system, which I think is far more natural for sustainable businesses.
Thank you very much. Turnover is vanity and profit is sanity. My father told me that, and I didn't believe it for about 20 years. And then away but people first, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our third section. I'd like to open up the mic to questions. Sir, we've got a mic coming to you right now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Les. I run a brand development agency. I'm in the same space as Sister Pume. But my question tonight, it will be directed to Chad and maybe Pepe, and maybe anyone who wants to take it. On the issue of scaling, should we talked earlier about problem solving, right? So should we solve for South Africa, or we solve for Africa? Because I would like to believe that most of I have a particular interest on startups, and our startups, if you check the trends right now, they are not really up there on the growth level compared to other countries like Nigeria, for example. Because in Nigeria, they are solving for Africa. In South Africa, we are solving for South Africa because we have, I don't know, it's a curse or a blessing or whatever, where our systems are too much advanced. So for example, in the fintech space, the banks provide almost all of these services that other startups in other countries are building. So when we are talking about solving a problem and building, should we particularly solve immediately for South Africa? And when we are scaling, how will that come into play when we now want to solve for Africa?
It's quite a loaded question, and one would need to figure out which specific products you're going to be looking at. But if you're saying from a branding perspective, I think one would certainly want to look at where your target market is. And definitely the growth and the size of the growth is pretty massive across in certain sectors. So for example, Nigeria are growing a lot in the fintech space. That they're not growing in agriculture and other areas in that as well. So it's again selected. Kenya as well. Again, a lot of stuff happening in the fintech space, a lot of growth from an agricultural point of view, and they're also playing very much on the global stage. So, I mean, you look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia just turned the world around when they looked at the airlines and said, why can't we be the hub into Africa as opposed to Cape Town or Johannesburg? So solving Africa problems, I think there is some value there. I think if you are based in South Africa, you should be able to get some of your opportunities off the ground to incubate. But again, what is the problem you're solving? If you're trying to move money across borders, it makes sense to do business with a bank that's actually in Africa and in various countries within Africa, because it's easy to move your money. Do you want to be in a South African bank trying and battling to move money into other Africa countries? So it's trying to figure out what business that you need to be in. But I think it's less about the market, but more about what is the product and solution. What is the job that you are actually helping to solve and to get done? And it's a human problem. And that human problem can be lifted and shifted into other markets, and not just Africa, but globally. So it's around trying to figure out, am I able to solve a problem that I could serve my current market? Or is this a specific thing just for Africa? Or is this something that everybody around the world would value? And that's really around, somebody wants to get something done. It's a normal day-to-day thing. Where's their friction? Where's their problems in terms of getting that done? And how can I solve that problem for them, saving them time, saving them money, and giving them that level of value? And if you can find those opportunities that can scale globally, But you've got to test those markets. It depends on the type of product that you're looking at.
We've got the next person in the question there. Up to you, sir.
Yes, hi, my name is Luyanda, and I'm sort of one of the students in the School of Technology. And maybe I just want to pose a question to maybe any of the panels as to how has the emergence of maybe AI and the new revolutionaries of computer science and the adjusting and adaptability of that as an entrepreneur maybe or hampered you in your business, and what are the ways maybe that one can look to use technology to enhance them, and I don't know, without maybe creating a whole big fear, but rather looking into maybe doing or looking at as how to use that form of new technology to better your business as an entrepreneur?
If I may answer that. Being almost a digital dinosaur, ergo my age, a lot of us look at AI and emergent technology with fear. It's resistance. But the transition is phenomenal. It's a really good tool that breaks down barriers. And as entrepreneurs, we should embrace the technology, but not look at it as the golden key to Eden. Look at the tool for what it can offer and see what it can do for your specific business process to enhance your service capability and your performance. But it's quality first, people first, has been alluded to you. You can't go to a client and say, here's an AI tool, it'll make money for me. The client is not going to buy into it. So it's a tool, it's a huge advantage for us, and we need to make use of it. Elizabeth, you've got a lot of questions.
Right, so we're going to go back to our online questions, and here's quite an interesting one. So the question is around the continuous problems that entrepreneurs are faced with. And the question specifically says that it seems that running a business is continuous problem solving. How do you prioritize which problems to solve first? Because every day presents with a new problem or challenge.
Who's going to be willing to take that one?
Okay, can I come in? Hello? Hi, everyone.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think actually in my case, I know when you are starting a business, you will have your business plan. But over the years, I've noticed that a business plan cannot always be relevant. So as a business owner, it's important to keep on, revisiting your business plan. For example, in my case, I do have 3 practices that I'm running. So it means that clientele, I have to keep on revisiting and understanding their needs. And I think actually you can even cascade it seasonally. You can cascade it in such a way that, you must understand your target market. So yeah, that is what has made me to always be in par. Another thing, even if you can say that you are the dinosaur in this, this technology actually, as much as actually it's not a very comfortable thing for some of us, because technology found us when we were, can I say, stable and stuff. Yeah, I think to be innovative, there is a lot of answers that are waiting for us to find. Technology actually is a very important tool that one can use. The fact that actually I'm here and we can still have a meeting, the most primitive way is not always the answer, but there is part of the primitive way of doing things that is still the answer.
Thank you, Chloe. So I still want to drill into this question because it's a very important one. So understanding, that you are utilizing the business plan as a blueprint and obviously going back to that and iterating on it. That obviously allows you to prioritize what is important and then obviously revisit according to where the business is and adjusting strategy accordingly. But I'd like to also just cast the question to the panel as well. It's a critical question because specifically when you are starting out a business, where do you allocate your time, your energy, and your focus? Because you only have so many hours in a day. And you want to obviously ensure that you are applying that time to the best of your knowledge so that you theoretically get a good return of investment out on the energy that you're expending. So again, I would like just to hear from the panel, how do you do that?
I'm just going to share how I do it. Just put your head down, routine. Put your head down and work. I think as entrepreneurs, we want quick results, we want quick money, and we want to see results quickly. I think we should, I think, Chad, you said that we should, do away, is it Chad or is it Dr. Berry? We should do away with this dream that, or this expectations of quick results. It takes, oh no, I think it's Pepe, you. It takes years, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes work. And it is challenging. I think as entrepreneurs, let's just all agree and accept that it is challenging. And what I do is I do a routine. I know exactly, from I wake up at 5 o'clock, 5 a.m., what am I doing? The whole day is planned out. If there's an issue with the website, there's an issue with what, I put it on my routine and I just put my head down, don't panic, and just solve the problem as is. Have a routine, have systems in your business, have policies. As small as you are, at startup phase, have policies, adopt policies. Build your business up. We're starting businesses that, I know that I'm starting a global brand. Boss Lane is a global brand. Boss Lane is what? And already I have policies and systems that works according to that. That's where I see my business. And I work, even if you're a one-man person, you don't need employees yourself. Create that culture, company culture, put your head down, and there is going to be challenges. It's inevitable. You are going to receive challenges every day. It just put your head down, write it down, to-do list and routine. That's the way. That's how we do it. That's the only way.
So I want to support that because what I'm hearing you saying is planning. So I plan annually. I put 2 full days aside to plan my entire year. I'm very fortunate. I've got 2 assistants. But we sit for 2 full days and we plan my year meticulously. I sit every Sunday, review my week, plan my next week. And I sit every morning, 7 o'clock, I plan my day. So I agree with you, planning. But now now everyone's not a planner. And now you've got a business that's growing and there's a lot of people that are not planning, so everyone's reactive. That's where the problem starts. Now you start having lots of problems. So just a quick little rule of thumb that works very well for us. We focus on the 10% that makes 90% of the difference. So it's a very simple check. Is this a problem? That's one of the 10% that's going to make 90% of the business. If it's not, hand off to someone else to do. And I found even with projects, I focus on the 10% of the projects. We do probably around 1,000 jobs a year. I focus on the 10% that makes 90% of the difference to the business's growth. And I think that's a great little tool, like a shortcut, little hack. But the planning I support 100%. We don't plan enough.
I have another question, and this is specifically directed at Pomalelo. Reason being, you'll see shortly. So the question is, and it's an interesting one because many of us who decide to embark on this entrepreneurial route, I see it a lot with my MBA students, they venture into the space of management consulting. So the question is, how do you focus on a specific space or procedure when you are a management consultant? Because very often you have various areas of specialization. So how do you crystallize that?
I think the best place to start, going back to the why you exist, what you're uniquely best at, what problems can you solve more easily, and you'll be good at solving those problems. So for me, I've been in healthcare, I'm a healthcare professional. I might have had the business degree and been in sales and marketing, so naturally, I'm 11 months into this. I obviously lean towards areas where I'm quite comfortable, and I've started in healthcare, so I consult in that space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Sorry, please forgive me. I'm not a panelist, but I wanted to answer the question, the important question that was asked, to say, if you're faced with multiple problems, which one do you solve first? I will make my answer very short. In my experience as an entrepreneur, I have noticed that sometimes you are faced with the problems, some which are fatal, some which you can manage. So I would liken to problems that you face as an entrepreneur to like a person getting involved in an accident and you're a doctor. You get to the accident scene. What do you do first? You obviously look at bleeding, because it can, if your patient continues to bleed, they will die. So but they could have a broken leg, but is it gonna make them die? No. So if I'm an entrepreneur, I look at problems that will immediately destroy my business. I focus on those, and I fix those problems because I need to keep my business afloat. And then that's how I would prioritize which problems I must tackle. Thank you.
Thank you, and it very much is the triage system, specifically when you're running a business. So yes, thank you for sharing. I have one more question, and I'm going to iterate it slightly because I think it's a lovely way to close. So the question is by Nicole, and she asks, what are the tools that you would suggest are necessary to stay relevant in your respective industry? And I'd like this to be a round table closing question. And I want our panelists to just give one golden nugget. So the question again, what are the tools that you would suggest are necessary to stay relevant in your respective industry?
Well,
what is a parting thought?
What I suggest, I'm just going to start on my right and move all the way down until we've got our online panelists there.
The golden nuggets, colleagues.
Your golden nugget.
I very much welcomed the opportunity to come here specifically around networking. I can never say enough that entrepreneurship is quite a lonely, isolating journey. If you don't come into spaces like this, if you don't go into forums where you can meet other like-minded people, see different perspectives, you can easily drown. So I would say, parting shot, networking. You don't get tired of talking to people and coming into forums and any space that gives you an opportunity to meet people. Thank you.
I think knowledge is very important because you need to know what it is that you could be doing to be able to assess your potential. So excuse me. So I think broadening your mind, reading everything that you can from your industry and trying to stay abreast of that. In my profession, I read the Harvard Business Review. I love it because it talks about various industries, different types of business models. It tackles revenue, customers, and a whole bunch of other things. And it does also point you on to other books that I think are quite relevant in the different fields. So for me, that's my go-to tool. And if that was the only advice I could give you, it would subscribe and read the Harvard Business Review every 2 months. It's a fantastic way just to keep focused in terms of what's happening out there and to spark new ideas and new thoughts?
My tool is personal branding. It doesn't matter what industry you are in. In fact, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur. You just have to, be a person that wants to be successful in whatever field, whether it's employment or entrepreneurship. You have to have, your personal brand. Brand yourself, know what you stand for. CSR now, I say it's not a buzzword. It's the way to go. So align yourself and know what you stand for and build a strong personal brand. So personal branding it's a must. You need to sit, understand yourself and position yourself in the industry that you're in a way, for success.
I've got two that comes to mind. The one's linked to what we do, because we all know what we do. Everyone on the panel, we know exactly what we do, and often we position around what we do, and I don't think people buy what you're selling, they buy what you believe in. So that's questionable whether the what is correct, but in terms of the what, making sure that our product remains absolutely on the cutting edge. We invest in going to the best platform, so in our industry, advertising. We once a year have got an event in France, in Nice, Cannes actually, a festival where you can see the best of our industry globally. So engaging at a global level with best practice informs the caliber of our product for sure. Because that's where you're on the pulse of the world's absolute top 0.001% of the product that's made globally in our industry. And my second one, I can't put enough what's it, emphasis? I'm an Afrikaner, you see. What's that word? I cannot emphasize this enough. So you might be in the business, because we choose to start this business that we choose. We think it's for money, but there's something else that's going on. Like, I might open my dentistry and I'm interested in creating beautiful smiles, but what is that emotional thing that happened to me that makes me want to bring this gift of confidence to people? So maybe I'm not in the business of smiles, I'm in the business of confidence. And what a beautiful thing to give the world, to help people be more confident, because they feel better about themselves, because their teeth are straight, whatever. I'm making this up now. But there is a greater reason for what you're doing. And if you can find that and position around that, that drives innovation and change more than anything else in my experience.
Kate, can we have your golden nugget, please? I think you're muted.
Okay, my current nugget that I can say right now is the H in the 4W, meaning what, why, where, and the bottom line is that how are you going to market yourself, or how are you going to market your business? So I think if you manage to primarily answer those questions on daily basis, it doesn't matter whether you are feeling down or maybe, it doesn't matter. Like on daily basis, we all have 24 hours. But if you wake up in the morning and manage to answer those, you are halfway there. Believe in yourself and believe that actually all is well. Before anything can change, you can make that change. And above all, my second line, actually, even if I cannot emphasize this, marketing your business. We still have big companies that are still marketing themselves, but I believe that there is a reason why we always have to market our business. The main reason is to be out there and to be relevant and to understand exactly, our market. Yes.
Thank you. And Tembeka, the closing golden nugget, please.
Okay, I would say embrace challenges. Every day we face challenges, whether in life or in business. Because right now we're just focusing on the business, but also on the personal life, you face challenges. Embrace challenges, face them with boldness, and then just know that in every challenge that you face, there's growth in it. In the same process, encourage yourself every day. Don't wait for others to encourage you. This is you, this is your life, this is what you want, this is how you want to live. Encourage yourself, speak life to yourself. And the last one is that pray, ask for wisdom every single day.
Thank you. Very, very profound. Elizabeth, over to you.
So if I just take those golden nuggets that were shared by our esteemed panel, I've actually categorized it into three. It's about vision. It's about tuning into and discovering and embracing your why. It is about embracing challenges. It is also about knowledge, colleagues. If you want to stay relevant and you want to stay ahead, you need to become a learning machine. This is something that I continuously tell my students, is that there is a lot happening in this dynamic world. We are operating in a space called Barney. It's brittle, it's anxious, it's non-linear, it's incomprehensible. And in order to operate in this space, we have continuously got to feed our minds with new knowledge. So that speaks to embedding yourself into the Harvard Business Reviews and really getting stuck into and immersing yourself into as much knowledge as you can. And then absolutely critical is this element of marketing. So it's about the networking. It's about the connecting. I cannot emphasize how important getting out there to meet people, to make an impression on people, and how much this can transform your business. Connections are made in real life. We were in a space of the pandemic where we all obviously transferred into the online space. And I think we are doing ourselves a disservice if we think that relationships, true relationships, are built in that space. And getting into spaces where you can connect with like-minded people, where you can share your stories, where you can learn from each other. We cannot emphasize enough how important that is for us as entrepreneurs who are starting out, as solopreneurs who are operating in our own businesses, on our own, from home. There is so much value to be had in stepping out of that comfort zone into a space that I call the growth zone. And this is the growth zone, where you can feel the energy and be ignited by the passion and the enthusiasm of people such as the panelists that are on the stage and also who are tuned in and joining us today in this discussion. So, colleagues, as we conclude tonight's event, I really do hope that you are feeling as inspired as I am. I really do want to say a very big thank you to our remarkable panelists, Dr. Pepe Murray, Chad Schaefer, Zama, Marupela, Chloe Mefani, Dr. Tembeka Bulani, and Pumelelo Mushapo. Your boldness and your vision really does demonstrate the power of dreaming big and daring to change the world. And as Steve Jobs wisely said, the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. I would also like to extend a big thank you to Dr. Barry for leading the conversation tonight. It is an honor and a privilege to work with this gentleman. And also, last but not least, I want to say a very big thank you to our teams behind the scenes, who are our unsung heroes and who work tirelessly to breathe life into our ideas. Colleagues, entrepreneurship is absolutely vital to South Africa's economy and our social progress. And we all know from what we know about our country, from the challenges that are being experienced, that this concept, this entrepreneurship, drives innovation. It creates new markets and businesses, and it really does have a profound impact on job creation and economic growth. And empowering entrepreneurs is absolutely essential for our country to advance and also to thrive in the global economy. Our panelists are testimony to the fact that if you can see it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. So I invite you to be bold. I invite you to be courageous. I invite you to be the entrepreneurs that our country so desperately needs. To our virtual attendees, I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. And to those of you who are here with us on campus, we invite you to continue this conversation outside of the auditorium with a meet and greet with our panelists, because it absolutely is a fantastic opportunity to network and to exchange ideas and to also explore how you can harness the power of entrepreneurship to really make a difference. I want to thank you all for being here tonight with us and for your commitment to turning vision into venture. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very good night filled with dreams that will ignite with ideas to change the world. Thank you very much.